Morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Give just a second to get everyone into the room. Hope everybody's having a great day. It's early for me. I mean, you know, I'm not a morning person, so anything is early for me and before the noon hour. But good morning. So glad you're all with us to get in the room. Same housekeeping tips apply today, just like every day. Chat your questions in. If you're watching on YouTube, you can chat. If you're watching it live, YouTube live, you can chat your comments in, questions, and we will capture those into the call. And if you are watching after the fact, you can go to auxiliary.uga.edu. You can click on the Auxiliary Connections tab and then select Survey Feedback. Leave your questions, comments there. You can leave it anonymously or you can leave your name, up to you. I think I might just be having a little bit, just the last two are just having a little bit of difficulty coming into the room. So that may just be on their computer side. So with no further ado, I'm going to turn our session today over to Mariah to get started. Mariah McDaniel, she's our registered dietetic technician. There's too many T's in that. I mix all the time. So sorry, you can correct the butchering that I just did of your title, Mariah, please. And we'll go ahead and get started.
All right. Thanks, Catherine. Yeah, I am Mariah McDaniel. I am our dietetic technician at UGA Dining Services. I'm sporting my Georgia logo over here. So in case you don't know me, that's who I am. I am the assistant to Katherine Ingerson, who is the dietitian at UGA Dining Services. And I'm going to go ahead and apologize in advance. I think they just started lawn care outside, so you might hear a lawnmower or something. Maybe they do that on Tuesdays. I mean, it looks like it's going to rain today, so don't know why they're doing that. And then I also just heard a dog bark, so my apologies. We're at home. It is what it is. But yeah, so I'm going to be talking today about snacking and stress eating in an uncertain world. And I have my notes over here, so that's why I'm looking over here. But we're going to be talking about how to adjust your diet when you're spending more time at home. And yeah, Catherine is pulling up our slides here for us. I'll give that a second to start. Is my internet working all right?
Yeah, you're good so far.
Okay. Are the notes up? I can't tell.
Okay.
There they are. Okay, so we'll go ahead and go to the next slide because that's just the introduction there.
Why does it keep doing that? Sorry. Okay.
Perfect. Oh, back one more.
Oh.
Giving away all my slides, Catherine.
All right, is that the one, topics of discussion?
Topics of discussion is the right one, but I'm seeing the question instead. Okay, there it is. Okay, cool. So today we're going to be talking about the physical and emotional effects of stress, how we prevent eating when we're bored and or stressed, and then how often we should be eating comfort foods. All right, so we'll move on, and we'll start with a question, which Katherine has prepared for us. It'll be a polling question that asks, what is your current stress level on a scale of 1 to 10? And if you, once you vote, if you want to go ahead and also let us know how that level, that stress level differs from your stress level in March and April. Because a lot of us, you know, we've kind of gone on probably a roller coaster worth of stress lately. So I want to get more of a capture of what, sorry, I'm trying to skip the poll so I can see. I want to get a capture of what our stress level has been. Yes, I saw somebody ask. 10 is the most stress. Yes, sorry about that. So 1 is low stress, 10 is high stress. But yeah, so let me know what your current stress level is, and then chat in how that's different from your stress level in March and April. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to see the poll.
Yeah, right now we've got about 57% have responded, and it's looking like 3 to 5 is in the lead at 34%.
Okay, cool. That's pretty good, I would think.
So you want to give it, we got about 65%. You want to give it just another 10 seconds to get your vote in. Stress? Who's got stress? What?
Got to talk about it. Got to talk about that stress. I can see some of the chats down at the bottom of my screen, which is cool. I didn't think I'd be able to see it. So some people, their stress is going up. Some people, their stress is going down.
All right. So our final is ended up with 36% at 3 to 5, and in the number 1 position. Number 2 was 1 to 3 at 26%, and then 7 to 10 at today 9.5. March the 11th was 9.6 according to Randolph. Some YouTube numbers in, we've got 7.5. Michael said he's impressed that anyone out there is below a 10.
Yeah.
Preach, Michael. Preach. Okay. So I will in the poll make that go away. All right.
Okay, cool. So it looks like more than half of the people were 5 and below, which is, I would say is pretty good. Some of us are in the higher level of stress. Of course, presenting is like a small little boost in stress. So you feel my pain. So a good bit of people have noticed that the stress level in March was really, really high. A lot of us didn't know how to deal with all of the new changes. So our stress levels spiked up pretty quickly, pretty drastically. I see some more comments. Some people are going up. But yeah, so I just wanted to have you guys check in and see where your stress level is right now, because whether you like to think about it or not, just knowing what your current stress level is can actually help a good bit in helping bring that stress level down, because once you're aware of it, you can think of ways, some tools that you can help bring that stress level down. Some of us may have noticed new or increased stress over food in general. So some foods weren't available in store. I'm still noticing some things that aren't available in the store. I want to get more rice. I've used up all my rice. We may have had some reduced funds for grocery shopping if we had to scale back on the amount of hours we were working. And some people may have even had fear of just leaving home in general. If you, are more inclined to get sick, leaving the house is just another stress level in itself. So, right now, stress, that's pretty normal. We're going to go to the next slide and talk about how feeling off is actually normal right now. So I know when I was first feeling all of the stress levels, my brain was like, you shouldn't be stressed. You've got this and this going for you. Don't freak out. Somebody else has got it worse. If you'll go back one, Catherine. Somebody else has got it worse than you. Stop freaking out. You're okay. But everybody was feeling off about something. Everybody is dealing with their own issues that are going on. And I just wanted to remind us to give ourselves some grace and understand that all of these changes are affecting everyone differently. And reaching out and talking to someone about how you're feeling can actually help you feel less emotionally alone, even if you're physically alone. So for me, I have a 1-bedroom by myself apartment, but I do have my cat. So he's been a wonderful stress relief. But yeah, so I noticed, I needed to reach out and call somebody or video chat, and that really helped bring that stress level down. And help you, feel like my stress level is high, but that's normal. That's okay, because whoever I'm talking to is also feeling the same thing. So we'll go to the next slide and talk about chronic stress. So chronic stress is stress that's going to last for a month or more. And chronic stress can be actually really detrimental to your health. And we'll talk about some of those negative effects that we have. Do you mind swapping over to the next slide number 5, Catherine?
Sorry, when I click next, I think it's just because I'm not sure what's happening, but it's going fast. So I'm having to catch it back up. Stress and work.
Yep, we're good. Okay. So
Sorry.
no worries. Chronic stress can have disruptions in a lot of parts of our body, like our immune system, because, if we're stressed out all of the time, our body can't focus on, keeping us healthy. So we're more likely to get sick. Our cardiovascular system is going to go out of whack if we're dealing with chronic stress. We have increased stress hormone, which is called cortisol, that can increase our blood pressure, increase our blood cholesterol, and it can keep us from being able to control our blood sugar as well. We may also notice disruptions in sleep. We have trouble falling asleep and staying asleep. We might be more exhausted when we're stressed. You may wake up after a sleepless night and have a headache, which can cause us to be more irritable. A lot of us are, not sheltering alone. We're sheltering with more family members than we're used to. Maybe all of our kids are home, and so we're having to stay home and do homework with them. Hopefully most of you guys are on summer break, but I don't know if that's better or worse, because now you got to think of other things for your kids to do. But yeah, so you might have trouble with sleep. And then the last one, which I know a little bit more about, is our digestive system. So you may notice more upset stomach or changes in appetite. And we'll go to the next slide, and we have another question for you guys. Sorry to make it more complicated, Catherine. But our question is, have you noticed a change in your eating habits since the shelter-in-place order? And what you're going to do is, I guess Catherine doesn't need to do anything. What I want is everybody to chat in if they have noticed anything shift in their eating habits or their cravings or anything like that. Less. Got a yes. If you have noticed, tell me what has shifted for you guys. I got eating because I'm bored. I've lost 4 pounds because I don't eat out as much. That's awesome. Boredom, junk food. I eat less often, but more when I do eat, okay? I have time and energy to bake, so I've been eating. Oh, it went away. I also have been baking quite a bit. I have been trying to perfect my homemade brownie recipe. I'm obsessed with brownies, so we got snacking on junk food too much. Somebody's watching their sugar intake. It's going fast. More hot Cheetos. I have also been eating a lot of cheese puffs. I never liked cheese puffs before. I mean, I liked cheese puffs, right? Before all of this happened, but for some reason, ever since the shelter-in-place order, I'm like, I have to keep cheese puffs at all times in my house. Someone's baking more, snacking less, but cooking more. Eat more junk food. Hooked on cheese puffs. Ryan, hi Ryan. All right, cool. So everybody's kind of do what?
I was gonna say for me, I'm actually better now at eating my, quote, meals per day, the breakfast, lunch, dinner, that on that routine, because usually it's a one meal or two meals on the fly, and then, maybe one at a odd hour, depending on what things. When you're in you're kind of we've made our own routine, and we gotten on a routine now of and I'm actually cooking, which is not my gig. So yeah.
Yeah. I have definitely been cooking so much more than I'm used to after, I work 5 days a week. So normally I'm in the office and I have lunch at work. So it's been weird having to adjust to cooking so much more. I get tired of cooking the same thing over and over again. So I've been branching out, trying crazy things like kimchi stew and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, so what I've noticed in the comments is that everybody's, most people's eating habits have shifted in some way, but maybe not in the same way, which is actually a really important point to note, because not everybody's going to be affected in the same way. So that is really awesome. I'm glad that we are able to notice that. We'll go to the next slide. Now I feel silly having so many slides because it's so difficult to change the slide. But this next slide,
I think something's going on with your sound. I'm not sure if it's on my end. I know goldfish. I'm seeing the goldfish snack. I'm getting distracted. Goldfish comments. I love the snack that smiles back as well. But I think something weird might be happening with your sound. I don't know if it's connection. Maybe it's your internet connection.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't changed anything, and I can't see a bad connection showing anywhere.
It's almost like you're in a tin can.
Let me get my headphones really quick. I'll be right back.
All right, you do that, and I will try to get us to the next slide without going through all the slides. Oh, no such luck. Okay. Thank y'all for bearing this. With weather and whatever, it doesn't take much to have make something not be quite perfect, but the point with the way things are in right now, perfect is not something we're striving for, but we do like for things to be in a good place for you guys. So hopefully our sound fixed.
Do I sound okay now?
Yes, that's perfect.
Woohoo! Yay! Okay. Maybe I just have too much echo in this room. All right. So I wanted to step back to this slide and highlight changes in appetite, because that's essentially what we're going to be talking about in this presentation. We'll move on to the next one and talk about some changes in appetite that some of us have noticed. I wrote a few down, but I noticed there was quite a bit more, a lot of specific ones, like wanting goldfish more, or baking more, or cooking less because, you know, we're exhausted and don't want to cook anymore. Some examples in changes in appetite may be an increase or a decrease in hunger. Some of us may, you know, like for me personally, I've noticed that I get so exhausted with having to cook that like the idea of like making a beautiful meal isn't enough to like get me into the kitchen. I'd rather just pop in a microwave meal and just not even deal with it. We may have an increased desire for comfort foods. So that's our goldfish, our banana bread, our brownies, our goldfish. We may be snacking more, and we may be doing more stress eating. And so what I did was I reached out to a few people that I know, and I wanted to ask them what snack and comfort foods you're reaching for. So we'll go to the next slide. And I talked to a stay-at-home mom who's 43, and she's married with 2 sons in the house. And they are both aged 10 and 16, so they are eating. And of course, they were at home doing their schoolwork, which is a whole new thing for a lot of parents. And so I asked her, you know, what snack foods or comfort foods are you reaching for? And had her send me pictures. You went too far. I had her send me pictures, and what I got was a good bit of quick and easy snack foods, things like, you know, chocolate bars, or granola bars, or protein bars, fruit snacks, those cheese dip cracker stick things. I always thought those were really tasty when I was a kid. And then like mixed nuts and things like that. So it looked like a lot of the stuff that she was grabbing was either sweet or salty or crunchy. And she put in ramen noodles as well. I've also been eating a lot of ramen noodles, but I like to spice mine up and like throw some veggies in there or something like that. So you might recognize some of your favorite snack foods on this slide. And then the next person that I talked to was a young professional. She's 23 years old, and she works as a WIC clinic nutritionist. And I really wanted to include this slide because it's proof that nutritionists also eat chocolate and cookies. A lot of people think that, you know, we're always just, you know, eating vegetables, and that's it. But no, we do have cravings for ice cream and Oreos. And she also had tortilla chips with jalapeno hummus, which sounds really, really good. And she also had some Nature Valley bars, some like kind of proteiny bars. And then we also had a doctoral student, so a little bit older. And what they had, they studied plant pathology. So it's like plant diseases, which I thought was really cool. But they had some fresh fruit. They had some dried fruit in there, but there was also Mentos, which I usually don't keep in the house. So, I mean, it's kind of a good idea. I like Mentos, but I never really think about it. They had some cookies and some crunchy snacks. So I see some puffs of some sort. So it looks like more crunchy stuff, some sweet stuff. Looks like they shop at Trader Joe's. And then the last slide is other replies that I got. So I sent this out to a group chat, and some of the replies that I got were, I haven't been snacking because I don't get hungry between meals, which might be something that you noticed. And another one is, I move around less, so I'm not as hungry as before, which is like I said before, it might have been something that you guys have noticed. If you're not moving around as much, you may not be as hungry. So, if you're listening to your body and you're not hungry, then you might not eat more snacks. But I think for me, especially, the more I'm at home, the more I snack because I love food. And my top snacks have been cheese puffs, like I mentioned, cherry tomatoes. I don't know if I'm an alien, but every time I tell people that I just eat tomatoes as a snack, people think it's really gross. But I love tomatoes. I used to eat, that was probably my first food, honestly. Fresh fruit or frozen mango chunks. I will go and either buy a fresh mango or just like buy frozen mango chunks. Um, and for some reason, I am just obsessed with them. Frozen mango chunks are my favorite thing in the whole world right now. If you haven't ever had it, try it because it's super good. And then other things that I've been snacking on are desserts like brownies and cookies. And I've been making a lot of banana bread. And I wanted to take a picture of the strawberries that I had. I bought these from Ladybird Farm. They're local here. And that is actually 4 pounds of strawberries. I didn't eat them all by myself. I did split them with someone, thankfully, because I would not have finished them before they went bad. But those strawberries were the best strawberries I think I've ever had because they were literally freshly grown, just right next door. Like, oh, so good. But yeah, so those are my top snacks. And then we'll move on to how do I prevent eating when I'm bored and or stressed. And what I wanted to talk about was mindfulness. And we had another presentation on mindfulness. And we kind of went into more of mindfulness to deal with stress and what's going on around us. And I think that is a perfect segue into eating because our stress affects our eating in times. So we wanted to use mindfulness to help us determine why we're wanting to eat something, why we're having that craving. So what we can do is ask ourselves, what is my hunger level right now on a scale from 1 to 10? And I put the hunger scale down there at the bottom where 1 is ravenous and 10 is painfully full. And I noticed that I always forget, but Greg said that he is not able to see green and red colors. So I wanted to go ahead and verbally say that 3 to 6 is green, and then all the rest of the numbers are like orange or red. And 3 to 6 is kind of where most of us want to stay. A lot of us don't want to be very hungry, but sometimes letting yourself get very hungry can help you know what that feels like. Most of us will just wait till we're a little hungry before we get something to eat. But to learn how your body reacts to certain things, you gotta allow yourself to experience that 3 to 6 area of the hunger scale. So yeah, just sit with yourself for a second right before you grab something to eat and say, well, what is my hunger scale right now from 1 to 10? And it may take a couple seconds and it may take practice. Like for me, I don't really know what my numbers are right now, but I've been trying to work on that. Another question that we can ask is, what kind of food do I want to eat? What is the texture, the flavor, and the temperature? So for me, usually my stress or bored eating snack has been cheese puffs, like I mentioned. So I'll sit there and I'm like, okay, so what do I want to eat? I want to eat cheese puffs. What is the texture? It's crunchy. It's kind of light and airy. It's more like it's a puff. So it's not going to be crunchy like a pretzel. It's more crunchy like a puff. And then the flavor is going to be salty and cheesy. And the temperature is just room temperature. But kind of explaining out to yourself what that food is like can not only help you feel more what your hunger scale is, because if you start thinking about what the texture of a food is, I guarantee you your tummy's going to start reacting to it. But it can also help you figure out, what is it that I'm really wanting from this food? Is it that I really just want cheese puffs? Or is it that I'm really craving something crunchy and something salty, and I can maybe grab some popcorn, which gives me that same texture, same flavor, but it has more whole grains in it. So that can kind of help you tease out what you're feeling about your hungerness. And then you also want to sit there and think with yourself, what are 2 to 3 emotions that I'm feeling right now? And this one's kind of obvious. It's essentially helping you figure out, am I bored or am I stressed? You may be completely relaxed. You may be super over the moon because you just got a call from your family member and they got some good news. You may be tired. You may be exhausted. This can help you figure out, if your sleeplessness is affecting the way that you are dealing with your hunger. So if you're not getting a lot of sleep, you may notice that you are craving snacks more. And that's because if you're not getting enough rest, your body's not, getting enough energy to go through the day. So if you haven't gotten enough sleep last night and the whole week before that, you're likely going to be craving some foods that are high in energy, high in calories, high in fat, because that's going to give you a quick boost of energy and help you get through the day. Listening to your emotions, and you're noticing a lot of the time you're saying, oh, I'm tired. Try instead to, think, okay, well, tonight I'm going to make sure I get to bed on time, and see if that helps me with my hunger levels. And asking these questions only takes a few minutes, and it can help you decide if you're really, really hungry, or if you're just eating out of boredom or in response to stress. And you can write them down in a journal if you want to keep up with your emotions, how are affecting your appetite. I know that can be really helpful, because it can be easy to forget how you were feeling yesterday. But if you keep a journal, you can look back a week from now and be like, oh, well, my stress level has gone down from last week. So that's really good. And notice what changes you've made in response to that. We'll go to the next slide. We're going to talk about how often I should be eating comfort foods. And I wanted to make sure I mention here, I'm sorry, my phone is wobbly. I wanted to mention here that comfort foods can and should be a part of your normal diet. Food is fuel, you may have heard that before, but it's also community and culture and comfort. So before all of this, you may have gotten together regularly with your church to have a potluck, and you bring your favorite recipe and spend time with people at your church or at your community group. You may often get something to eat that reminds you of your childhood, something that your mom used to make. And maybe your mom is from a different state or a different country. So that can help you get connected with your culture. So food is community, culture, and comfort. And you shouldn't try to don't let anybody tell you that certain foods are bad, especially if they're related to how you connect with people around you and how you connect with yourself. But how much is too much? That's going to depend on your physical activity level, your health status, if you have chronic conditions, and then what else you're eating. So I wanted to mention, if your doctor or dietitian has recommended that you limit a certain food as a result of a chronic condition, that would be like hypertension or heart disease or high blood pressure, or I guess high blood pressure and hypertension are the same thing. But if you have a chronic condition like type 2 diabetes and your doctor has specifically told you a certain nutrition regimen to follow, you are going to want to follow their advice because they're going to know you a little better than I do. We're going to be talking about how often we should be eating comfort foods if you, are an average person with little to no chronic conditions. All right, so we'll go on to the next one. We're going to talk about a little bit about physical activity. So physical activity is kind of a double-edged sword. It can help you prevent disease, and it also brings down your stress level. And you may have heard that before, but I can concur. It's certainly true, and I'm not a big physical activity person. It's not something that I'm like, oh, I can't wait to go work out. Like, it's just not me. But I do know from, science says to support your health and prevent disease, that you're going to want to set a goal to get at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity physical activity each week. And that sounds like a lot, but if you separate it into 5 days per week, it can be 30 minutes at a time. For me, 5 days or 5 times a day, 5 times per week is kind of a lot. I tend to get a lot of stuff done in the afternoons, so trying to fit physical activity in can be a little tough. So what I end up doing is going for an hour at a time, because I like to take either a podcast or a book with me, and I'll just go walk for an hour instead of 30 minutes. And I can do that 3 times a week instead of 5 times a week. And I end up getting 180 minutes per week instead of 150. So it's actually 30 more minutes per week that I'm actually getting out and exercising. So you figure out what works best for you. If you need to work out every single day, but only 20 minutes at a time, then that's what you got to do. So some examples of moderate intensity physical activity are going to be brisk walking, intense cleaning, mowing your lawn, things like that. The best way to know if you're getting moderate intensity activity is if your heart rate goes up a little bit, your breathing gets a little bit more heavy, a little bit more deep. So that's giving you that cardiovascular benefit to the exercise. And if you want to work a little bit harder than that and get an intense or a high level intensity physical activity, you can go for a run, or you can do, high effort bicycling, something like that. And how you know that you're in the high intensity is you're breathing so hard that it's hard for you to hold a conversation. It's pretty quick for me because I'm not a runner. I don't love running, but I do love walking. So I make sure that I go for a quick speed walk so that I get those cardiovascular benefits. Increased sitting time can actually counteract the positive benefits of your 150 minutes of exercise. So this is kind of relatively newer science, but we may do our best to get our activity, but if we're sitting all day long, it counteracts the benefits of that physical activity that we've been getting. So if you're working from home, try to stand while you're working. See if you can find something to put your laptop on. I actually have been using my cat's cat tree as a standing desk. It's funny, and I mean, he doesn't care because he stopped using his cat tree a long time ago. I don't know if any of you guys are cat owners, but cats love toys for like a week and then they don't care about it anymore. And then I'm just like, man. But yeah, so I've been using my cat tree as a standing desk. And if you can't stand while you're working, then try to get up and walk every hour. Some of us may have like a Fitbit or an Apple Watch, and they usually will notify you that you need to get up and walk just a little bit. And really all you need is a couple minutes of walking around. You don't have to get up and walk for 30 minutes to do any, to make it work for you. Just get up and walk a little bit every hour. And then another thing you can do is stand up and try to move your body while you're participating in leisure activities. So like I mentioned, I listen to podcasts or read a book. And what I'll do is I'll take that outside and I'll go for a walk. Because I know most of the day I'm in my apartment, I'm probably sitting a lot of the day. So I try to include the things that I love to do, which are listening to podcasts, into the physical activity that I'm not quite as excited about. Another thing you can do is if you want to watch TV or talk on the phone to somebody, then you can go ride a stationary bike, or you can do some yoga while you're watching TV. I've heard of people taking cans, like heavy cans of food, which you might have more of right now, and using those as home weights if you don't have any home weights. So while you're sitting and enjoying yourself watching TV or whatever you're doing, try to think, how can I move my body while I'm having, a little bit of rest time or a little bit of leisure time. So some of us may have had a gym membership that maybe isn't active right now because of the stay home order. So if you're exercising less than you normally do, you're going to want to pay attention to your portion sizes. And if you're not exercising at all, try to limit your consumption of calorie-dense foods. So that's something that's high in calories, but doesn't have very many vitamins and nutrients. Try to limit those calorie-dense foods to less than a few times per week if you're not exercising at all. If you're exercising less than you normally do, just listen to your body. It'll let you know when you're full. It'll let you know when you're hungry. You just have to try to tune into that a little bit more. And we'll move on to the next slide to help us figure out how often we should be eating comfort foods and snacks. And the way that we figure that out is, well, what else are you eating? You're going to want to pay attention to those food groups on your plate. Hopefully you've got some of the food groups. And our goal is to try to get at least 3 food groups per meal. So the food groups are listed right here on a Choose My Plate image. Some of you may be familiar with the My Pyramid. This is the more updated version, and it kind of shows you more of what the food groups would look like on your actual plate. So it makes more sense, like how much of this should I be getting? And if you are having a snack, you can try to shoot for 1 to 2 food groups per snack. If that's not working for you because your snack is cheese puffs like mine, it's not really a great food group of any sort. I guess you could count it as a grain, but it's not a whole grain. So what I make sure I do is when I do eat a meal, I get at least 3 food groups per meal. Whenever you do get those food groups, you're going to want to choose some lean proteins, whole grains, and lean dairy. So what are some examples of whole grains? That's going to be things like popcorn. It's going to be whole grain rice, so the brown rice, whole grain bread. And some people, I know I was tricked by this in the beginning. Some people kind of don't know the difference between multigrain and whole grain. So multigrain does not necessarily mean that it's going to be a whole grain bread. What you're going to want to do is flip it over to the back and look at the ingredients list. And if the flour that it lists as like one of the first flours, if it says a whole grain wheat flour, whole grain rice flour, then you know that it's a whole grain bread. But just by it saying multigrain on the front doesn't mean that it's whole grain. So do make sure you pay attention to that. Lean dairy options, all you have to do is look and see if it says low fat milk, like skim milk or 1% milk is going to be our lower fat milks, or low fat yogurt. Greek yogurt is a great choice because it's also higher in protein. And some lean proteins, we obviously have heard of poultry before. It's a little bit lower in fat, but beans also count as our lean protein sources. Tofu and peanut butter is a really good choice for a quick protein. And then your fruits and veggies, you're going to want to make that half of your plate if you can, because that's going to give you all of those wonderful benefits. And we'll talk a little bit about that on the next slide. But if you are consuming high fruits and vegetables, consuming meals in high fruits and vegetables, lean proteins, whole grains, and low fat dairy, having a sweet or salty snack every now and then is not going to damage your health. Because a lot of the time, if you're eating all of those wonderful foods, you may not be all that hungry for cheese puffs. I know for me, if I have just a few, I'm good to go. If I don't have a good meal that day, I can eat half a bag. So just pay attention to what else you're eating around the time that you're having those snacks. All right, we'll go to the next slide and talk about what nutrients can ease stress. So I told you guys that we should try to get half of our plate to be fruits and veggies. And the reason that is because they contain obviously vitamins and minerals, but they have antioxidants, which are going to support your normal brain functioning. And as long as your brain is working properly, we can manage that stress a little bit better. B vitamins are also a great way to support your body. It can help with your metabolism, and it also helps your body produce energy. So if you're getting less sleep, and you're feeling tired throughout the day, make sure that you are getting your whole grains, fruits and veggies, dairy products, and then beans and meats. All of these items have B vitamins in them. And then some studies show a link between low levels of vitamin D and stress. So what that means is if you're not getting enough vitamin D in the day, you're more susceptible to have more effects to your stress. So you may feel more stressed out as a result of not getting enough vitamin D in the day. And vitamin D is going to be produced in our body when we're hanging out in the sun. But it can also come from food sources like fatty fish, egg yolks, and fortified products like milk. So you want to make sure if you're getting the orange juice with calcium, you also want to get vitamin D in there, because the vitamin D is going to help help the calcium get into your body a little bit better, and the vitamin D can help you resist the effects of stress. And we'll go to the next slide. So I just got a craving. What do I do? So the first thing you're going to want to ask yourself is, well, why did I get that craving? And you're going to go back to that first slide we were talking about and ask yourself those mindfulness questions. So what is my hunger scale? What am I feeling right now? And what kind of foods am I craving? And that'll help you tease out to know, am I really hungry, or am I wanting this food in a response to some emotions or some feelings that I'm having right now? So if you find out that you are actually hungry, you're going to want to grab something to eat. Listen to your body. It's telling you that it's hungry for a reason. It needs that energy. And try to go for some good full meal with your at least 3 food groups. If you don't have time for a full meal, try to grab a snack that's going to be high in those nutrients that help us fight off stress. So some fruits or veggies, some popcorn, it's got whole grains in it. Something that's going to nourish your body and help you deal with what's going on by giving you that fuel. If you are craving something and it is stress or boredom based, what can you do to get some relief? What I recommend is having a moment with yourself. It may take 5 minutes, and just write down some stuff that can really get you out of a slump. So before all of this, I actually noticed that I was dealing with a little bit of stress-induced anxiety from classes and work, and just having all of those things all in a tornado together. You get stressed every now and then. So whenever I was stressed, I was having trouble dealing with it. And I sat with myself and I was like, okay, so what pulls you out of those bad feelings? What helps you get some joy in your day so you feel like you can tackle everything that's going on, or just a little bit of what's going on? So I wrote down a few things, and I highly recommend doing that because, when you are feeling stressed or bored, finding something that'll actually bring you joy instead of, stuffing your face and feeling sad can really, really help get you out of that stressed mental state. And at the end of the day, if you've gone through this chart and you've done your stress relieving activities and all you can think about is Oreos, then you should grab a couple of Oreos. If you're making a dinner and you're like, I just really want Oreos, I don't even want this meal, go ahead and make your plate and then put your cookies on the plate with it. You have a little bit of breathing room. When you're getting all of those wonderful nutrients with your food groups, having a little bit of your sweet every now and then is not going to, cause your body to crash and burn. So yeah, grab those Oreos. If that's something that you can't stop thinking about it all day long, you need those Oreos, then that's something that your body's telling you, hey, I need Oreos right now. So yeah, I highly recommend doing that. And then the last slide here is actually my list of stress relieving activities. So like I said, I wrote down a few things that helped me get out of slump, helped me feel joy. So I wrote some things like 30 minutes outside. That may not be exercising, that may just be sitting outside under a tree, participating in less social media, because I know social media can be a double-edged sword. It can, bring you joy because you're seeing pictures of family members, but can also bring you down because there's a lot of not fun news right now. One thing for me, which I thought was kind of weird, but it super works. If I start my day with a happy song and I make my bed, I feel like I've just started the day. I'm ready to kick anything, like I'm good to go. So the first thing I do in the morning while I'm brushing my teeth is I turn on some music, start dancing, and then I go back in my room and I make my bed. And that just helps me so much. The number 5 is 5 gratitude. So I just sit with myself for a second and I think of 5 things that I'm grateful for. And it honestly can take like 30 seconds. If you just, think about it in your head, or if you want to say them out loud. I know for me, saying it out loud helps a lot. Or if you want to write it in a journal, just sitting and thinking about 5 things that you're grateful for can kind of help you not think so much about the things that are stressing you out and hopefully help you get through. And marking one thing off the to-do list is another great thing. So when you're stressed, at least for me, I know that usually that stress is because there's a pile of things that I need to do. And being stressed about those things keeps me from doing them, right? And then another thing just stacks right on top of that, and I'm even more stressed. So if I can mark one thing off the to-do list, it usually helps me feel a little bit more calm, reduce that stress a little bit. And sometimes I even am able to do another thing off the to-do list, maybe even 2 or 3 more things off the to-do list, which really, really helps. And then the last thing is a little bit of physical activity. So walking or running or dancing. I already told you guys I'm not a runner, but I do walk and I do dance. Dancing is actually probably the quickest way to get me to release some stress. So this actually helped me very recently. 2-ish weeks ago, I was finishing up a class and I had a final exam that I had to finish, and I had it was 2 essays and they were both 1,000 words each. It was a lot. It was a lot to write, and I'm not a writer. I don't like writing. And I got about halfway through the first essay and it was 9 p.m. and I was like, man, I do not want to write another 500 words tonight. Like, I am beat, I'm tired, and it's time to go to bed. And I knew that if I didn't go ahead and write those another 500 words that night, I was going to be behind track and I was not going to finish my final exam on time. And that, of course, made me feel even worse. So I sat with myself and I was like, okay, what can I do? And I was like, I'm going to give myself 3 songs. I'm going to turn it up really loud. It's 9 p.m. and my neighbors are going to hate me. But I'm going to turn on my music really loud and I'm going to give myself 3 songs and I'm going to sing and dance my heart out. And I'm going to use the remote control as a microphone. I'm going to close the blinds so nobody can see me except for my cat, who did judge me. Yes. But for that 10 minutes, 3 songs, I acted like a crazy fool and I let all that stress out. And then when I was done, I felt wonderful. And so I sat down and I wrote my other 500 words in an hour. I got all my citations done and I felt so, so, so much better. So just take a second with yourself and just think, what can I do to pull me out of this and help myself keep going? And I promise you, it'll help. So yeah, do we have any questions? I didn't realize how long I talked. I'd be glad to answer any questions we got.
Did have, let me go back to it because it was up here a second ago. Sorry, get there. Oh, is there a correlation between how hydrated or dehydrated we are and our perceived hunger level?
I am not 100% sure, but I do know that when you're hydrated, your body is going to obviously run a whole lot better. So you might be able to feel those hunger cues a lot better if you are hydrated. I can't think of any specific science off the top of my head, but obviously water is really important. We gotta survive. I like to keep my giant water bottle so that I don't have to refill it all the time. So yeah, stay hydrated.
Thank you for the idea of the stress list or the stress release list, itemized list. I'm a list maker sometimes not, but that to help me realize what I'm stressing about and then what I can do to fix it.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
That's great. I appreciate that.
I have to give the credit to my mom because she was the one who gave me the idea.
Moms are good. Moms are
Yeah.
good. What's that? Oh, and the Oreos. There's lots of comments about now you've got everybody talking about Oreos. So
Yeah, that tends to happen with nutrition presentations. We talk about food and everybody gets hungry. So
so any other questions? We've got just a few more minutes. If you had more questions, you could chat them in. And if not, then yes, very good. Thank you, Mariah. This has been a fantastic presentation. It's really given us a lot to think about. And then we will, it's a lot to think about, just how we oh, list up again, please. Okay, hang on.
they needed the list.
They wanted to see your stress release list again.
Yeah, so to explain the other ones I didn't talk about, there's one that number 3 says 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And what I do is 5 things. This is mindfulness, so it's kind of helping yourself feel grounded and in the moment. So it's 5 things that you can see, 4 things that you can touch, 3 things that you can hear, 2 things that you can smell, and then 1 thing that you can taste. So it's all of your senses, and it kind of just brings you into the moment. If you're thinking about a ton of other things, maybe in the future or in the past, it's like, I just want to focus on where I am right now, then you can use that. And Rachel Hollis is a wonderful motivational speaker, and she really can help get people, get you going. She's also a mom, and she's like total mom squad lady, and I love it. But I mean, it helps even for me, even though I don't have kids. So
okay. Where if somebody wanted to go to a good nutritional facts website, what is the best, in your opinion, what is the best nutritional facts website that's not going to give biased information?
Gotcha. Yeah, so the creme de la creme who taught me essentially is going to be Choose MyPlate. If you just type Choose MyPlate, it's a government website. So it's backed by scientists, it's backed by dietitians. It's going to give you the best information on food groups. So what each of the food groups are, what foods are in those food groups. And they've got like specific information based off of your age or off of your lifestyle. So if you're an older adult, they've got specific stuff for older adults or parents or kids in high school. So if you're not 100% sure, like, I feel like my kid is eating so much food and I don't know if he's eating the right stuff, you can look on there, and that has that information there too. And it's meant to be for the consumer, so it's perfectly tailored, and it gives scientific information in an easy to understand way, in an applicable way too. So it'll give you some tips on recipes and stuff like that to make things a little bit easier for you.
Okay, we'll add that to our to the resources page on the Auxiliary Connections site, so that we'll be able to access it from there as well. So thank you again for presenting for us today. You've given us lots to think about, learned a lot, I have. And so we thank you for taking your time to spend with us this morning. And to all of you who have joined us, thank you for joining us as well. It was really good to see everybody, and look forward to seeing you again soon. Oh, hang on, I will tell you this afternoon session is Staying Fit at Home Part 2. So if you joined last Tuesday at 2, that was Part 1. This is Part 2, Staying Fit at Home. So look forward to seeing everyone this afternoon as well. I hope you have a great rest of your morning and that your day is productive. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.